If your Airbnb calendar has a bunch of gaps in it, there's a good chance your pricing is off. Most hosts think they have a pricing strategy because they have PriceLabs, but what they actually have is a tech tool they're not utilizing to its max. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact PriceLabs dashboard I use to make pricing decisions across my short-term rental portfolio. We'll look at things like minimum price, base price, market occupancy, RevPAR, market penetration, and booking velocity. And I'll show you how these numbers help you understand whether or not your property is actually performing the way it should. And guess what? If you want a copy of everything I review here today, you can download it in the free guide linked below. Now, without further ado, let's jump in. Okay, friends, I'm going to spend a few minutes walking you through my PriceLabs pricing dashboard, and I'm going to walk you through why I have things on here, because yes, they are completely customizable, how I use them in my business, and my goal is that it helps give you some insight on how to set up your own PriceLabs pricing dashboard. All right, so you'll see on the left-hand side, I've got a list of listings, fairly self-explanatory, as well as the opportunity to review prices. The next thing you'll see is the sync price toggle. Why is this important to be sure we're keeping our close eye on this? Well, let's face it, every once in a blue moon, we have a slip of the fingers and something can accidentally get toggled off. So what's really important is if you want to make sure that your prices are all synced, just glance on here and make sure these are all green. I did find my own listing a couple of weeks ago. Something had accidentally clicked it off, and of course, that was something that I could easily see right here in my pricing dashboard. Next, you're going to see on my pricing dashboard my minimum price, my base price, and my max price. You'll see I don't have max prices set for any of my listings. Why? Heck, I don't want to put a ceiling on what I can earn. We all know that this is a game of supply and demand. If the demand is such that my max price can go higher than I ever thought I could get for my property, heck yeah, I want that max price not set so that PriceLabs can help me determine the very best rate I can get on any specific day. Now, you'll see the base prices listed here as well as the minimum prices. I want to call out that base prices and minimum prices should be reviewed on a regular basis. You can see for this particular one, PriceLabs is even saying, hey, you've got your base price set at $165. We are going to recommend you move it to $161. Now, I can choose whether or not I want to take advantage of that recommendation. If I do want to take advantage of it, I can click this button and adjust the pricing. So I've got my minimum price, my base price, and my max price showing here. Next, I see the bedroom count as well as where the property is located, because we do host in multiple markets across the country. One thing that's super important for me to see is the last booked date. Why is this important? I want to make sure that all of my properties have at least one booking every 2 weeks. Do I want more than one booking every 2 weeks? You bet I do. But if a property has not had a booking in 2 weeks, I can know that Airbnb will likely begin suppressing my listing in the algorithm. So you can see I'm filming this on March 18th, and all of these so far look pretty healthy. All right, I'm going back to March 14th, 17th, 11th, 16th, March 5th. Okay, that's 13 days ago. So I am right on the cusp. Okay, I might need to look at my pricing or make an adjustment to make sure that I am getting a booking every 2 weeks. Here's another one I've got on the radar. All right, that's 9 days, so I'm not quite at 2 weeks, but that is one I'm going to want to keep my eyes on. Now, this next one, February 23rd, that is longer than 2 weeks old. So when I have a discussion with my revenue management team, that is a listing that I am going to ask them to put additional focus on to make sure that we are getting a booking and making sure that we are not beginning to get suppressed in the Airbnb algorithms. Now you might go, well, Stacy, why do you care about the Airbnb algorithms? Don't you want to drive direct bookings? Yes, you bet I do. However, we all know that the OTAs are top of the funnel. They are putting millions and millions of dollars into advertising on their platforms. I want to take advantage of those advertising dollars and make sure that they are showcasing my properties. Do I want to drive direct bookings? You bet I do. And I've got a separate strategy for that. But I want to be sure that I am well positioned on the OTAs because they do drive eyes onto my listings. Okay? Next thing I want to show you is the nights booked in the past 7 days. Again, so this is looking at the last book date. This is telling me how many nights specifically have been booked in the last 7 days. Okay? So this is a good indicator of properties that are actually booking very well and pacing very well. You'll see we've had 13 nights booked in the last 7 days for this property. I love seeing that. For the properties that are low, okay, obviously the ones that are, at March 9th, the last 7 days are 0, okay? Again, the last book date for this one was just 5 days ago, but I've only had 2 nights booked. So this might be a property, again, I would like my revenue management team to pay some extra special attention to. Okay, so data helps us drive not only decision making, but actions. And no, I am not doing all the revenue management adjustments on my own. I actually have a member of my internal team that does this for me. And so we have meetings on a regular basis, and I will actually have discussions based on the data I'm seeing right here in my pricing dashboard. All right. Total occupancy for the next 30 nights. The thing that I love to see are the green. Okay, so you'll see in green, I am pacing well above the market. Also, I love seeing this gray. Again, the gray tells me I am in a great position. So gray or green, I love seeing. The yellow, it basically tells me I am on the cusp. So this is a property that is, one we want to keep a special eye on. So total market occupancy for this particular property is at 40% and we are sitting at 37. Is that terrible? No, but it gives me a visual cue that I might want to pay special attention to this property and again, put strategy and tactics in place so that we can drive additional bookings. So this tells me, hey, you're doing not bad, but there's opportunity for you here. What I don't like to see are the red, okay? And again, this can be a great visual cue of these are properties we need to pay special attention to from a revenue management perspective. So market occupancy is at 42%. We are sitting at 30% at this property. Is this a discussion we need to have about pricing? Possibly. It could also be an indicator of something else going on in the listing. So again, this may not just be a pricing discussion that we're having from this pricing dashboard. It gives us so much data to know where we need to dive into things for our properties. Now, I know that this particular property, as an example, we've had a review recently that was not a 5-star review, and that could be impacting our bookings and our occupancy as well. So when we have a review like that, what do we need to do? We need to make sure that we are responding to that review and helping other people see that, hey, whether or not the review is valid, if it was valid, hey, we are taking steps to address these things. Thank you so much for sharing them with us. If the review is not valid, we want future potential guests to have a very clear understanding of why the previous guest was either not accurate or I guess, well, I'll say sharing additional context. So a future potential guest can see, hey, they really do have it going on, and that guest just wasn't realistic with their expectations. Okay. So that could also be something that could be impacting our occupancy rates. Again, this is an indicator of where we want to dive in and optimize pricing, but also optimize our listings as well. So I like to see, again, the green or the gray. I guess it might be blue. I'm not really sure if that's gray or blue, but whatever that color is, gray or blue. Okay. The yellow is no big deal. I don't like to see the reds. And so these are properties that we are going to want to make sure we pay special attention to drive bookings. All right, bookings pick up in the last 7 days. So it tells me the number of bookings I've gotten in the last 7 days on that particular property. Again, it's a great visual indication of what properties are pacing well from a bookings perspective and where we've got opportunity. All right, RevPAR. For the next 30 days. This is something, if you are like, well, wait a minute, I don't know what RevPAR is. RevPAR is revenue per available room night. Okay. And so this is a good indicator of how occupancy and ADR, your average daily rates, come together. Phil Kennard, the founder of Future Stay, he always says, if occupancy and ADR had a baby, it would be RevPAR. Okay. And so again, this is a great visual indicator. Now, this is for the next 30 days. Look at this. RevPAR for the next 30 days is 0. Okay. That's not good. That's not good. This is a listing, although we just got a booking 4 days ago. For the next 30 days, I'm not sitting pretty. So I really need to have my revenue management team focus on that property to dive in. Again, we might have a pricing problem, but it might not be a pricing issue at all. So PriceLabs can help you get visual cues for properties that you need to do a full audit of. You might need to optimize your listing. You might need to audit your reviews. You might need to get new photos taken. Again, the data on the PriceLabs pricing dashboard can just be great feeder information for you to dive deeper into, hey, how can I better position this listing? Okay. All right. Market penetration index. This is something that I love to see numbers that are above 1. Okay, so this is my own listing occupancy divided by the market occupancy. So I like to see that I'm pacing above the market. When I see a number above 1, that tells me I'm pacing in occupancy for the next 60 nights above the market. So 1.6, I'm pacing 60% above the market. 0.7 means I'm at 70% compared to the market. Okay. And that's also indicated here. This is for the next 30 nights. This is for the next 60 nights. So I have opportunity to pick up additional bookings. And I know that I need to drive additional bookings in order to stay on point with the market here. Okay, so this is, again, a good visual indication. I want to see for the next 60 days, I want to see numbers in excess of 1. Okay, all right, minimum price hits. This is a percentage of days out of the last 30 days of how often I'm hitting my minimum price. If we are hitting our minimum price a lot, it could mean that we need to take a second look at our pricing because we might need to adjust our minimum prices. We might need to adjust down. Okay. If we are hitting our minimum prices a lot, it's a good indication that our minimum price is too high. So look at this. We're hitting our minimum price 50% of the time. We're sitting pretty as far as market occupancy. Okay. So we're doing very well, but we might want to take a second look at our minimum price and make sure that we have our listing positioned in the best way possible so that we are capturing as many bookings as possible. When our pricing minimums are, again, being hit a lot, it tells us that, hey, we might need to take a second look and adjust our minimum prices down. Okay? All right, so this is how my PriceLabs pricing dashboard is set up. I hope that it's helpful to know how I have it set up. And again, these are so customizable. You can add a column, you can filter, obviously with quick filters, you can utilize a more comprehensive set of filters here. You can also add metrics here. My goal for you is that this pricing dashboard is incredibly relevant. For the longest time, I just had kind of the base amount of information in here. I never really knew that my pricing dashboard could be a tool that I use in my business far beyond pricing. Now you can see why I rely on this dashboard so heavily. It gives you a clear snapshot of what's actually happening with your pricing and the performance of your properties so you can make smarter revenue decisions. And if you have any questions about anything you saw on the dashboard, drop them in the comments. I'm happy to help. And if you want to try PriceLabs yourself, you can grab a free 30-day trial using the link in the description below. Also, if you're serious about building a profitable short-term rental business, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any future videos.